this energy, which is, I mean, they always say I'm like some Zhuge Liang lah, right, of the three kingdoms. So I
It's a
mean,
fan.
it's very funny because yeah, the fan. Oh, I got the fan. Yo man, the fan.
Oh, welcome to the first episode of Milk First Zero Second, where we interview people who think a bit differently and unconventionally in the business world. So today here we have Zachary Young. This person I've met him few months ago, or even 1 year ago, and recently he has scaled a company from 1 million in 1 year to 1 mil in 1 month to after that 1 mil in 3 days. He is a freaking genius. He thinks like no other, and today I have him here with me, and it's a privilege to have you as the first guest in Milk First 0 Second.
Hey
So
Ted.
Zach, please introduce yourself. What do you do? Yeah.
All right. Hey Ted, thanks for having me on the show. So yeah, hi everyone. I'm Zach. I'm actually the founder of Underdog Strategy, and like what Ted mentioned, actually I specialized in scaling companies. So that was one of the companies I scaled, where I scaled them from 1 mil in 1 month to 1 mil in 1 year. It did about 1 year worth of revenue in one. It took 1 year to get 1 mil, but after that, we scaled, and it's a multi-million-dollar company now. But the last that we did was we managed to scale it, help them hit 1 mil in just 1 week or 3 days. Yeah,
Damn.
so that was exciting. So what I really do is I'm a business strategist, and I help them structure, set up systems, train the team, set up the teams to make it more efficient, to make them sell better stuff, higher stuff, pricier stuff, and yeah, really scale their company. So yeah, that is what I
Awesome.
do, guys.
That's exciting stuff. Okay, so Zach, so I have worked with you previously. So I realized you also think a bit differently. People say you're a bit different, right? Very systematic
Weird. The
person.
word is weird.
Weird. Yeah, but so can you share one story where you did things slightly differently, slightly even weirdly, or a bit
Mm,
unconventional
mm.
in the business world and the results that you've kind of
Okay.
generated? Yeah.
I see. Okay, so off the top of my mind, right? I think okay, so I jump across different departments, quite a number of departments, and that allows me to come up with all these strategies to help my clients. But I think one of the where not many people know that I actually started off in marketing, and when I first started out, I remember there's this time where we take part in these marketing competitions where I was actually faced off with this very very top marketer, and I was relatively new. So this marketer, we are given a set amount of budget and a set amount of time, and we just had to see who gets the most number of conversions, run Facebook ads to landing pages to get the signups, get conversions, and get as many leads as possible. And this guy was a super good at copywriting, super good at building pages, everything. So just to give you a context how good he is, right? His
Mhm.
his ads had like a click-through rate of 5 times more than me. Okay, I just started at that point in time. This was many years ago. And another one was that after that, when he landed on his landing page was converting 3 times better than me. All right. So if you 5 times more click-through rate than me, 3 times. So basically, I was being owned by this guy.
Impossible to win.
Yeah, it's like 5 times 3, it's like 15 times at, like, there's more traffic, everything.
Yeah.
So, but the interesting thing is at the end of, so we ran this competition multiple times. But what happens is that every time at the end of the competition where we actually did our debrief and we check our scores, right? I mean, yes, he won me, right? But in fact, there are sometimes I won him as well. And usually our lead count, right, is always separated by 1 or 2 leads only. So, and it's always very surprising because they were like, wow, man, this guy is like writing so much better than you and doing so much more copy, more advanced things than you. But how come you're always so close to him? And sometimes you even beat him. So after that, then we had a debrief and we talked about what we did. And so this guy is a true blue marketer, internet marketer, brand. That's his bread and butter. So what they realized is that every time, right, there's a difference in approach. Every time when his ad or his campaign isn't doing well, what he will do is he'll look at how's the copy, how's the headline, which is a very standard thing a marketer will do, right?
Yeah.
Look at
Same.
copy, look at headline, look at the picture, see can convert better or not. Then they were asking me, so what did I do? Then I was like, okay. So of course I try to do the same thing, but if I fight him on his strength, there's no way I can write better than him at that point of time, right? I mean, it's not overnight I will not become a better writer. So
Yeah.
what I did was that I was actually looking at our CRM. Our CRM at that point of time was Entrepot. And I noticed that for my ads and my leads, right, at night, right, it usually comes in more. Like maybe throughout the entire day, right? The whole day, nothing. Facebook. That's how we normally run the ads and things like that. But at night, right, suddenly like every 15 minutes, 20 minutes, we'll get leads. Then I was like, hey, actually my leads is coming in a lot at night. So what I did was that I did something ridiculous, something that they were like, a normal marketer wouldn't think of. What I did was that I switched off all my ads during the daytime. I switched off all my ads. Then at night, right, around 8, 9 to 10, especially 9, 10, 11, just 3 hours, right, I realized that that's where, because I'm going to check the time, right, that's where a lot of my leads come in. So I just switched on all my ads, and then I forced Facebook to spend. So I put in like $200 per ad set, whatever. I just forced it to spend. It's ridiculous amount of money being thrown into like 2-3 hours, forcing it to spend. And then my leads came in like every 5 minutes, 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 3 minutes, pop, 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 pop. Then so eventually I always catch up with him, man. It's like, so this guy was like, what is this? What magic is this guy doing? Then they realized that this guy isn't doing a marketing strategy. This guy is just using a timing
Hacking
strategy or whatever. Yeah, hacking the system, literally just hacking the system. Then we laugh about it and all, but yeah, so this is just an example of some of the weird things that I do. And I think so many people ask, hey, how do you come up with this? So I think how I came up with this was that unlike him, this guy was a marketer. So he was brought up in the system of marketing, like a box, right? And me being me, which is like, I just think out of the box. Not because I think it's because I don't know the box. So I mean, I try to fix the box, but I can't find him there. Then just what else is there? Timing. Then so I because I wasn't brought up with that, I started thinking of solutions that are non-marketing related, and but at the end of the day, I got the end result lah. So
nice.
Yeah.
So just now you mentioned about fighting him not with his strength or something along the lines.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
So I'm just curious your thought processes. How did you decide to how did you realize I'm not strong in this, therefore I decided to focus in try to punch him in another way?
Yeah, so I think I mean this is by the way, I always feel that the best strategies that come out is always when I'm fighting from a losing position, because this is why my company is called Underdog, right? Because sometimes when you fight people face on in the weapons that are strong at with the thing, then and they are obviously stronger, you fight them on the same ground, you're destined to lose one. I mean, this is their bread and butter, right? So I realized that this guy had like 3-4 years worth of marketing experience, right? Yes, I'm studying hard, I'm working hard, I'm running ads, but at that point of time I would not be able to catch up immediately, but yet I was in a competition with him. So how do I have to go around, and I have to see, and so number one, I think it requires you to be very aware of what's your weakness, not in the kind of like I'm so lousy kind of like very self-pity kind of, but you have to have that kind of self-awareness, because if not, you will just continue to go head on, and then hoping for a different result, which it will not happen. So that's number one, being aware of your strengths and your weaknesses. And then number two, I think it's the case where I thought of the box, because this guy to a marketer, everything is a marketing problem, so they solve all problems with marketing solutions, while I went back to find out what's the root problem, which I think this is something that I love, and I learned from Elon Musk, which is he has this idea of going back to first principles. What is the fundamental problem? And then instead of solving it how the other people are solving it, how the market or how the industry solve it, right? That's what he did for his how he built rocket, right? He worked back like, what does it take to build a rocket? Steel, how come so expensive? So he just went back to the first principles and just build it from scratch. So go back to the first principles. Then I realized that for me, what's the first principles? As many signups as possible. It doesn't have to be an ad, it can be other things. And what affects a sign up? Sometimes it's the ad, sometimes it's timer, right? Everyone's at home, everyone's going home on. So I use that, and then that's how I went about doing it. So I think it's really going back to first principles and knowing what is your strengths and weaknesses, so that it can come up with a strategy.
I think Just curious on your thoughts. Do you think most like people or even entrepreneurs or businesses in general are aware of their strengths and weaknesses?
This one.
Like from the clients or the people they work with?
I think number one, what happens is that because this is there's no right or wrong lah. Okay,
Yeah.
we are very used to the idea of modeling success, right? So success leave clues. A lot of very brilliant people say, which is true, which is true. But in the world of business, where business is quite a dynamic thing, things changes very fast. I think
Yep.
even right now in the last 10 months, we saw things like how you run business before COVID, during circuit breaker, during phase one, during phase two, and now going to phase three. Well, it's all different things. So business is very dynamic. So it requires us to, especially SMEs, to be very agile. So if an SME were to be not very aware lah, okay, and try to fight an MNC with MNC strategy, you are asking to die lah, basically. I mean, yes,
Yeah.
that is the sometimes that strategy is more famous because MNC is bigger, they market about it and stuff like that. But sometimes SMEs you just got to fight on a different way, lor. You just have to use the resources that you have. I mean, if you want to be like, especially sometimes people like to use the MNC strategy because they're like, oh, they spend a lot of money, they burn a lot of R&D. That's because they got the money, they IPO, they got the money to burn, you see. But for entrepreneurs who just started out, we don't have the money, we have to do something differently. So I feel that knowing strengths and weaknesses is very important, but I think whether most entrepreneurs know or not, requires a certain degree of self-awareness and the willingness to question the things around them rather than just take like, oh, they did it this way, so let's do the same way. Yeah.
So how would you, like, I'm just curious, like for your clients or even for yourself, how do you recognize a strength? How do you recognize a weakness? Because for example, let's say you are venturing into a new, let's say, product line, or let's say you're in a service business and you're dealing with clients, you're dealing with so many things. How would you identify what is a strength and what is a weaknesses? A weakness.
I think number one, I feel that strengths and weaknesses, how I see is I see patterns. So generally, it's not like I see one thing, then that's your strength. I see one thing, that's a weakness. Because if you have a weakness, chances are your weakness will show in various
Multiple
forms.
times.
I believe how you do something is how you do everything, right? So if every time you can do a different scenario, a different context in a different industry or whatever, but your weakness will reveal itself. And similarly for strength as well. So maybe some people, they're very good at selling face to face, right? So you can see in the parties, their life, the life of the party, when they're doing preview speaking, they generally attract a lot of people to them, things like that. And conversely, some people, you just have, this requires, I would say, the trick probably observation. Or you have to be very aware and very sharp to observe things. And then after you are sharp to observe things, you have to cross compare. You have to cross compare different scenarios, different things. Then after that, when you piece together, you see a pattern, and that pattern is how you spot someone's strength or someone's weaknesses. And for me, because people do say that I'm quite observant in stuff, so I notice a lot of small little things, and I have a lot of theories in my head where I like to, okay, let's test this, right? Yeah. So you test it, then you say, okay, I have this theory that this person is strong in this. Then what we need to do is we put this person in a separate situation and see whether he's truly strong in that. And if it happens again, then we're like, theory proven, right? Then you try again. So if it theory not proven, then it's like, okay, sorry, my hypothesis was wrong. Let's try another theory. So yeah, it requires a bit of observation and the fun of testing.
Well, how often do you form theories in your head?
Every moment.
Every time.
Yeah, every time, like okay. like you have to ask yourself, like, how come this person is so good at this, right? And you don't ask in a rebellious form, but you ask in a very, like Albert Einstein, passionately curious, like, why is this guy so good at this? So like, for example, I mean, one of the theories that I have in my head recently, thing that I realized is that preview speakers are most live preview speakers are great at most live preview speakers are very extroverted, right? So a lot of these live preview speakers are when they're extroverted, right? When they do live preview, they're very good. And interestingly, I noticed that now that we have shifted to webinars, right? These live preview speakers don't do as well.
Okay.
But then last time the introverted ones, they don't do very well in live. But recently, in this context where I'm facing the camera and things like that, suddenly these introverted preview speakers are doing very, very well. So I'm like, this is a theory, right? Introverted speakers does better online. So okay, let me go think of all the introverted speakers. Are they doing very well right now? Then let's think of all the extroverted speakers that are doing very well previously. Are they doing very well online now? Then you test out. Then you kind of get your theory or your hypothesis. Yeah.
Okay. Wow, interesting. So like,
Yep.
so this is just a curiosity thing.
Mhm.
So on a day-to-day basis, like even okay, let's say even when you're on the business you're working, on a day-to-day basis, how many theories do you form in your head?
Wow. This one
I'm legitimately curious, passionately curious.
this one, no. There's no number. My
Like
mind is just
estimate,
constantly
constantly
like,
thinking stuff.
just like, hey, how come this guy is doing so well?
Do
Then
you? Yeah.
then I come up with theories why he's doing well, and I come up with theories to disprove the theory of why I think he's doing well. So I'm testing my own theory. Then similarly, I think why he's not doing well, right? Then I'll come up with theories on why is the theory that he's not doing well. So I will always back test my theory. So if I'm for you, I will try to shoot it down, right? If I'm against you, I will try to say good things about you to shoot it up. So I'm just testing, like I'm never for or against. I'm just trying to find the two ends of things. So like, for example, in just now a previous example, I'm trying to find, is there an extroverted speaker that's doing well online right now? How many? Then I'm trying to find, is there an introverted speaker that does very well offline? Something like that. So yeah, I don't have the answer right now, but I'm just looking at like percentage wise, it seems like I'm onto something here. So yeah.
Interesting. Do you think do you form these theories intentionally, or is it like it's just your brain, just your mind?
Yeah, it's my brain. I think I'm very curious about everything. Albert Einstein's that he has this quote which I really identify with, which was, I don't think I'm talented. I'm naturally curious about everything. So those people around me who talk to me, they realize that I'm curious about everything. You can hold me to a conversation on any topic, I'll probably know something about it, because I'm just curious and I find out about everything. And if you manage to find a topic that I don't know much about topic, then I'll ask you a lot of questions, and we'll have a very good conversation about it. Yeah. So either way,
So you can talk
I
anything
learn
under the
something.
sun.
Yes, it's true.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay, just now you were also sharing about a story on like something about revenue per head.
Okay. So so I mean, you're asking me like, is there another example? So yeah, it's either this or previous example. So this example was what I did differently. It's quite interesting. So at that point of time, when I was doing my in my previous company and all this, we are trying to increase our sales. Okay, so sales, one of the metrics we track is this thing called revenue per head, which is you take the total amount of revenue divided by a number of people. So I mean, the revenue per head, let's just put it at an arbitrary number. Let's put it at, let's say, 2,000, right? So 2,000, then we're trying to increase the revenue per head. How do we get more sales? So the salesperson being a salesperson and a sales speaker, then same thing like usually, okay, can I change my slides to make it more exciting? Can I find something to make the offer even more exciting, things like that. So I mean, and we have been doing this for like quite a while already. This is like 6 runs already, I think 6 runs, middle of the year, so about 6 runs. And so I mean, obviously sales is never consistent one, right? So the numbers will increase by a few hundred, like maybe on a good day it's like 2,003 revenue per head. Sometimes, it doesn't do so well, it drops down to 1,009. So it fluctuates by a few hundred up, few hundred down, average. Let's put it at 2,000 now. So they were trying to improve on it then, but they realized that no matter what they do, they're stuck at this thing because they don't have enough time for their pitch. So, and the reason for that is because they had to send them for lunch before. I cannot remember before or after. So I was like, okay, can we shorten the lunch time, right? And they were like, Well, cannot, because we are holding this as a live event, and the areas around is quite hard to find places. So if you give them a shorter lunchtime, they cannot find a place, and people are unhappy. People are unhappy, they don't buy from you. Okay, then after that, I was like, okay, then can you shorten your pitch, or can you shift the pitch around? Standard thing, right? Then they're like, no, cannot. We tried shifting, it didn't work out. We shorten the pitch, but then we scared it won't be effective. We lengthen the pitch, then they have shorter lunch. So it's a standard problems lah. So I mean, yeah. Then they were like, okay, so how can I improve on the pitch? How can I make the pitch more exciting? How can I what do I say? Things like that. So for me, I was just like, I mean, because once again, interdisciplinary, right? So, to a salesperson, lack of sales is always a sales problem. So, but to me, I was like, since it's a time issue, right? Why don't you buy all of them lunch? That was just my very simple suggestion. And then they were like, we didn't think of that. All right. So I was like, how much is one lunch? 40, 50 bucks, I mean, your revenue per head, you increase by a few hundred, you earn back already. So they're like, okay, let's try that. So they did
What's
that.
their initial reaction? Were they like, what are you thinking? What was their initial reaction?
They were just like, okay, this is like a out of the box kind of solution. Like, okay. Interesting. Yeah. Because you see, it's like conventional. So we are trying to give them more time, right? More time to pitch and more time. But then the thing is that if you give them lunch, then they go out, queue, buy, come back, not enough time.
Yeah.
Right. Then if you lengthen the pitch, shorten the pitch, then your pitch not effective. Then I just say, you just buy lunch for them. They eat there, then they come back, just a room beside. Much easier, makes everything faster and shorter. Yeah. So it was like, oh yeah. Okay. So they did that. So after they did that, the results, all right, the results. So you're like, remember, if it increased by a few hundred, it's a good result. So when the results came in, the sales for the event went up by over 1,000, right? So from just now I say 2,000, right? So it became like 3,000 plus, like 3,000. So everyone's like, yeah. Then they were like, okay, maybe lucky, we don't know lah. Okay, we try again. So it was a spike. Remember, everything was last time a few hundred up, few hundred down, few hundred. So now it's 1,000. So we're like, okay. Then they did it again the next round. Boom, another 1,000, maybe even 2,000 and things like that. So we're like, oh, we're onto something here. So yeah. So I think so coming back to why this worked out, right? So we are doing our evaluation, and we realized that reciprocation, people so into us, they love us, they report them lunch, then they will wow, and we got them longer time, we spend more time with them. So I think the interesting thing is I actually use an operational solution to solve a sales problem. Because like once again, just now, marketers will come up with marketing solutions to solve marketing problems. To them, everything is a marketing problem. To a salesperson, everything is a sales problem, right? But because I'm passionately curious about everything. So I did marketing before, I did operations before, I did speaking before, I did sales before, I did finance before as well. I did like everything. So sometimes knowing other departments' solutions, you can take, like what I mentioned, I took an operations solution to solve a sales problem, right? Yeah. Just now, I think I took an operations problem to solve a marketing problem as well. And sometimes I do take marketing solutions to solve an operational problem and marketing solutions to solve sales problem as well. So when you are when you are not stuck in a box, you learn a little bit of everything. You can actually crisscross different disciplines and get you out of the box results. Creative, crazy solutions.
Yeah. So I'm curious, like, when do you think is a good point to think out of the box, and when do you think is a good point to maybe it's really a sales problem, or maybe it's really a marketing problem? I should focus on that, not like trying to think out of the box. So I think my question is, like, when do you think it's a right time or a specific right conditions to think out of the box?
I would say, I mean, I'm not telling everyone immediately jump, fine, go to another department, and yeah. So I feel that ideally you should have a specialization. Okay, I'm one of the rare few that has my specialization is my generalization. But in general, right, have a specialization and work on that. So let's say if this is my first time or second time speaking or selling something, then obviously any problem is chances are the fact that I'm not good at it at the start. So I just need to, but remember, in just now the example I mentioned, right? It was something that has been going on for quite a while already. It was about 6 times, 7 times. Yeah. So you already tested it, you already did a lot of things, right? And you're kind of stuck. Then that's where it's a good time to have another person's point of view. So what happened was that, in fact, if back to this thing, I wasn't supposed to be in a competition. In fact, this bunch of people, the selling speakers were just talking behind my chair, just talking, and then I was just like, what problem you have? I was like,
Okay.
buy them lunch, done. Then boom, yeah. So sometimes if you are not a person who is you know every department, no worries. Find people who can complement you, or find people who are operationally more savvy. Ask them what's their thoughts. Sometimes they have a better understanding as well. So or you bring in a marketer, bring in different people to see your perspective from different angles, and you'll be surprised at what solutions you can find. Yeah.
Like in terms of, so this is like getting other people's perspective, right?
Yes,
So
that's right.
let's say you have a problem, and let's say you are the main person solving it or attempting to solve it.
Okay.
So in what sense or in what conditions it's relevant to think out of the box? Does it work for every situation? Yeah.
I think it works for every situation, but I think, like what I mentioned, it works best in situations where you're stuck, where traditional
like
thinking
stuff,
doesn't give you the answer that you're looking for, or doesn't give you an answer, that the answer that you need, right? And if you were to continue it, you'll just be stuck in the same route. Then that's where you need a different angle, fresh perspective, fresh ideas. Of course, fresh ideas depends on whether you know how to integrate it, or whether, I mean, not everyone's suggestion is a good suggestion. So you do have to take it with a pinch of salt, see how to modify it and all. But having fresh perspective sometimes, it does solve quite a number of problems. So I would say go look for fresh perspective, especially when you're stuck. But if it's your first time doing something, second time you're doing something, then maybe you're stuck not because the solution is not good. It's just that you are not familiar with it. Yeah.
Makes sense. So again, I'm also curious. All these thoughts all these unorthodox, unconventional stuff that you think about, are these like creative ideas, or is it like systematic stuff? Like this stuff is affected by one A, B, C factors. If A, B, C doesn't work, chances is the last factor. Like where do you get all these ideas?
Okay, I don't think I'm a very creative person. Okay, or maybe I would say I don't think I'm a very artistic person. Okay, artistic means like come up with weird, fresh ideas. I don't. But what I am is that I'm very good at creatively borrowing things from another department. So like I think that was an ops solution. I'll try to import it into a speaking and see whether it can solve. So I will creatively use something from another industry and put it into this industry. Then suddenly it looks fresh and new, but actually that's what everyone has been doing somewhere else. You get what I mean? So you take other industries, you cross-reference from other industries, and you bring it into your own industries. To them it's new, to them you're creative, but actually I'm just recycling an idea from. So I creatively borrow from other industries, and sometimes other countries and other to get your best results.
That comes from
really
having. And that comes
it's
from
not
having
just don't be
experience
stuck in your box.
Okay.
This comes from liking to put your hand into every other box.
Okay. Okay, can. Interesting. Okay, so that comes my next question, which is something that I really wanted to ask you for a long time. So, modeling what is working versus thinking out of the box, doing things differently. When is it a good time to model? When is it a good time to think different, stand out from like competitors?
So this one is really, well, this is a tough question. It's a good question. It's a tough question because I always tell people, if you think too different, too early, too far ahead, right? If you're 10 steps ahead of someone, you are not a leader, you are a martyr, right? They'll kill you for it, right? If you're 2 steps or 3 steps ahead of the crowd, the crowd can see where you're going, but they realize that you're ahead of them, you're the leader. right? And if you're same step, you're just following them now, one step behind.
Yeah.
So the thing is that if you're too far ahead of your time, they won't understand you. They will kill it lah. So I think a lot depends on how many steps ahead depends on context. So I mean, I give you an example, right? So I mean, we talk about before this we were also discussing like when do we model someone and when is it copying someone and when is it copying blindly, right? So a lot depends on context. So I mean, now these days everyone's online, right? We are doing this thing online, online webinars, previews, everything is streamed up, right? So I mean, I tell you something very interesting, which is that actually I tried automated webinars about 3 to 5 years ago. And I can tell you, it bombed. Okay, it bombed. But the thing is, I was like, hey, wow. That was when I was much younger, and we were like, why we did that was because America was doing it. America, which is in terms of the marketing, they were 5 to 10 years ahead of us. So yeah, webinars. We're doing that, and we're doing it in Singapore, and it bombed. And hey, you were like, why? I'm so ahead of the curve, Now, right now, it's like, hey, I knew it 5 years ago, but no one listened to me then. Precisely, you're too far ahead. And the context was different because remember in America is so big, right? To travel to watch someone do a workshop, you might need to travel about 2 hours to watch a 2-hour workshop and then travel back another 2 hours. So you actually travel 4 hours for a 2-hour workshop. So no wonder they don't really like to travel. They don't like to drive, and they don't have public transport as good as ours, right? So people just watch the webinar, they log in and things like that. While for us, I mean, like travel from Pasir Ris to Boon Lay is just maybe 1 hour or so, and most of the time when people hold their workshops and stuff, it's just they hold it in a centralized location. It's about 30 minutes. So when given a 30 minutes, like, hey, travel down 30 minutes, watch a 2-hour thing, most people will pick that option. So you might think that, hey, I'm ahead of the curve, I'm doing webinars, but the context, America and Singapore, is different. And when it's different, you can copy the strategy, copy the thing, but it will bomb. It will not give you the results that you expect in America. So you cannot just blindly copy. You must always understand the context. Right now, though, webinars are the thing, right? Because circuit breaker, COVID, no one can go out, no one can gather, and everyone's forced to do this online. So yeah, the context has changed. And when the context has changed, the strategies will change accordingly. And yeah, so I always believe you cannot blindly copy stuff lah. So yeah.
Interesting.
So I mean, yeah, especially when we were younger, right? So we are always very inspired by people and we try to copy and do the same thing, and then we realize we got different results. So I mean, that was in a business context, but let me share with you a very funny context, because I did this in I was actually a soccer manager of a club. Okay, and a few years ago, when Barcelona was much stronger lah.
Is it a school club or something?
No, it's my church soccer team. Yeah, it's a bunch of young folks. We all gather together and play lah. So but this was like maybe a few years ago where Lionel Messi was in his prime, Barcelona was peak. Then tiki taka was the way to go. Spain was winning the World Cups. Everyone was passing around the balls like total domination. So everyone was like, let's do that, man. Let's play like Barcelona. So we tried to pass the ball around like Barcelona, and in every game we played, right, we copied their strategy, and every game we lost. Okay, so the thing is, what's the difference? Right? If there was a winning strategy by a winning team, by a good team, by a national team, the difference is us lah, right? We the context is we are not Lionel Messi, we are not Xavi, we are not Iniesta, we are not top footballers, and we cannot do that. So after that, we realized that, hey, it's not just about copying the strategy, right? You must have the context and you must have the ability to execute. If you just blindly copy and you don't have the ability to execute, that is a bad strategy. So the best strategy sometimes is the right strategy for your team. And once again, this goes back to what we discussed previously, the ability to recognize your strengths and your weaknesses, to identify what's your patterns, and then play according to what you're good at, not what other people think is the best strategy for you.
Wow, yeah, that is really, really true. Because I also work with clients, and I mean, we are in the info education business, and then a lot of people, or rather a lot of educators or coaches, they see what's working because in social media it's all hype, and then they see and they assume that it's working. So naturally they gravitate towards that part without knowing that, okay, is it the right stuff for me? or
Yep.
it's a should I approach or should I approach it differently? So that is very very true, and yeah, it's apparent. Like even in yeah, like you said, like it's not even like just in business; it's everywhere in the world. That's an
Yep.
interesting point.
How you
Yeah.
do something is how you do everything, really. So yeah, and as the thing about social media is a lot of people, they see the top, they see the surface, they see a lot of the front end, but they don't see the back end. And most of the magic happens in the back end. In the back
Yeah.
end, there's things that there are things that's happening behind the scenes that some things cannot be copied on, or you don't.
Mm-hmm.
Most people don't even know it to copy it, and some those
Mm.
who know cannot copy it correctly or copy. So yeah, don't just see the front. It's really, there is some people, they are I mean, they are willing to try some strategies because back end wise, they have like a lot of things to back up their
Mm.
strategy. And those are things that no one will share with you. They will share with you the front. But if you just copy
Mm.
the front, you do whatever, Gary Vee says, whatever top marketer says, you don't be surprised if you don't get the results because they do have
Mm.
other things behind the scenes. Yep.
I want a question. So when you,
Mm-hmm.
let's say you see a strategy out there, and let's say something
Mm-hmm.
shiny, something new, something different,
Mm-hmm.
and let's say you have the bandwidth to, let's say, try it out. So
Mm-hmm.
what is like, would you identify, okay, why is this competitor or why is this person doing this? And then from
Mm-hmm.
there, I try to approach it. I'll try to identify why is this person using it, and if that makes sense for me, I'll use it. Will
Mm-hmm.
you like identify? Um, yeah, will you approach different strategies like this, or you just it's all internal stuff?
I mean, for sure. I mean, as a strategist, I'm very curious about the strategy, right? So I will go try it out. But most of the time, I think even before we try a strategy, I mean, we don't all in on the strategy. We always test the strategy, but we also need to ask, like, what does this person have that is making? Why is this strategy working, right? Does the person have something that makes this strategy works only for him, not
Mm.
for me? That I, yeah, and that's a very very important question because I mean, I tell you, those people who are very openly sharing their strategy, right, those strategies are the most dangerous. Okay, because they can share it because usually there's either a secret recipe behind or something like that.
Yeah.
And they share you can copy the strategy, but you cannot execute. That's why, and sometimes you might even burn yourself. So what happens is that yeah, you must really find why is the strategy working for them. And because let's say they have this characteristic or this component that's working for them, then the question is, do you have this component? If you have this component, you might have the chance to copy that strategy and work, and it might work for you. But if you don't have this component or this
Mm.
secret ability or this capability, competency
Yeah.
that they have, and you copy the same strategy, you will die. I mean, I give you an example. So I mean, we talk about this energy, which is, I mean, they always say I'm like some 诸葛亮 right, of the three kingdoms. So I
It's a
mean,
fan.
it's very funny because yeah, the fan. Oh, I got the fan. Yo man, the fan.
Oh, nice.
So what happened is that there's this part of Red Cliff. If you watch the show, they talk about how they were trying to fight, right? They're trying to fight a small troops, boat
Mm.
navy, small navy versus a big navy, and they're
Yeah.
trying to fight. So the funny thing was they used this strategy called the fire ship strategy, right? They take the ships and then they basically light their ships on fire and went to ram
Mm.
them and burn them lah.
Yeah.
Okay, so I mean, interestingly, right? So this is 诸葛亮, the good guys, versus Cao Cao, which is the bad guys. Okay, and let me tell you the funny thing: both of them came out with the same strategy. Both say let's use fire strategy. Then you're like, huh? How come? Right? One say use fire, the other says use fire strategy. It's same strategy, but the difference was wind direction. So at the start,
Mm.
if you go and fire strategy them, the ships ships sail in and light themselves on fire, right? The wind was blowing against you. That's it, man. You're just burning yourself. No, you're not taking down any navies. But I mean, as the story goes, they delayed, they 诸葛亮 wave some fan, whatever lah, change the wind direction. Then the wind started changing direction and blow that direction, right? So he
Okay.
took a small number of fire ships, rammed towards the big
Mm.
navy, and the whole navy caught fire. So it is the same strategy: fire boats and fire boats,
Mm.
but the difference was wind direction. The wind direction against you or
Mm.
against the opponent. makes a big difference. So yeah, so this is another example. It's just don't anyhow copy a strategy. You use the fire strategy, right? And the wind is blowing against you, right? Good luck to you, man. So
Wow,
yeah.
that's a very visual analogy of
Yeah.
copying strategy.
It is literally the same strategy, So it's wind direction, man. Wind direction. And that is what I mean by the behind the scenes. The wind direction. I mean, we just happen to think about this analogy, but it's perfect analogy because wind direction is the unseen. It's the
Yeah, it's
unseen that
unseen.
really takes you out, man.
You
So
only
so
can
yeah.
feel. Oh, I got
Yeah,
feel
you
this
can
thing.
only feel it, really. Yeah. So yep.
Wow, nice. Yeah. Anyway, so thanks so much for I think the past close to 1 hour. Yeah, I learned a
Yeah.
lot from you. Is there any way where the audience can find more about you, your Facebook page?
Yeah, you can search for me, Zachary Young, or you can drop me an email at Zachary at underdogstrategy.co. .co, not .com, all right. So yeah, I mean, I have actually much more of this kind of videos on my Facebook page as well. So you can just check me out. They know me as the underdog strategist.
Underdog
So
strategist.
yeah, yep.
Okay, Ken. Thank you.
Thanks, Ted. Thanks for having me on.